boy was found naked and battered in a cardboard box in the city's Fox Chase neighborhood. His identity has never been known, his killer, much less.
It was the year 1957 of February when the body of an infant was discovered in a small cardboard box near a park just north of Philadelphia by a muskrat hunter who had set out to check his traps. Naked and wrapped in a plaid blanket was the lifeless and battered body of a boy. The hunter refused to report what he found to the authorities in fear of his traps being confiscated by them. So, if the hunter didn't alert the authorities, who did? Frederick Benosis, a college student who was said to be driving down the highway near the park and saw a bunny and wanted to make sure that the animal was safe from the traps in the area. He was also said to be spying on the girls at Good Shepherd School. Nonetheless, he found the body 2 days after the hunter discovered the boy's body. He was also hesitant to report what he had ascertained, but a day later he reported it. On February 25, 1957, the authorities officially learned of the boy in the box. Who was the boy in the box? Unfortunately, no one knows. All we know is that the boy was between the ages of 3 and 7 years old. The authorities were hopeful because they thought because he was so young that someone would be looking for him, but the hopefulness dwindled away when they assessed the boy's body. The boy was scrawny, dirty, and malnourished, which showed that he was either neglected or abused, and quite frankly, if that was the case, the chance of anyone looking for him was close to none. He had deep bruises all over the body, and the authorities guessed that the boy probably had been out in the box for more than 3 days to 2 weeks. His hair was matted and seemed to be recently cut. His surgical scars were also noted, especially on his ankle, groin, and chin. His hands and feet were wrinkled as though he'd been submerged into water before he died. His esophagus also contained a dark substance suggesting that he might have vomited shortly before his death, and his cause of death appeared to be several blows to the head. The authorities went to great lengths to identify the boy. However, despite the efforts of the authorities, no one ever came forward to identify the infant, even with over 400,000 posters being sent out into the Philadelphia area and neighboring towns. A forensic facial reconstruction was done, and this is what was produced. The case grew cold for over 40 years, until the year 2000, where psychiatrists contacted the authorities with information regarding the case. In May 2002, detectives interviewed the patient of the psychiatrist named Mary, claiming that the boy had been purchased by her abusive mother in August 1954 and abused physically and sexually for several years in her home, specifically in the basement. Mary claimed that the boy was intellectually disabled. Mary alleged that one night her mother hauled the boy upstairs for a bath. The boy vomited up his dinner of baked beans, and her mother had bashed his head against the wall as punishment. Then, she'd attempted to bathe him, during which he had died. Mary's mother and father cut most of the boy's hair, then placed him in the trunk of the family car. Mary's mother drove both of them to the Fox Chase to dump the boy's body. The police initially pursued this lead because there were baked bean remnants in the boy's stomach, and his fingers appeared to be water wrinkled. Those were 2 pieces of information that were never made public. Mary's description of the boy as a small child with long hair also encouraged them. This fit with their theory that his hair had been recently cut, as well as an old witness who claimed to have seen the boy being placed in the box near the wood. Unfortunately, due to their inability to verify Mary's claims, police eventually abandoned the theory. They discovered a history of severe mental illness after investigating Mary's background. When they tried to verify her claims with neighbors and friends, they were all denied of ever seeing a child in the house. Eventually, the theory was dismissed as ridiculous. Because this case is an unsolved mystery, there has been a few theories about it. Theory number 1. In 1960, an employee of the medical examiner's office was told by a psychic that the boy in the box had come from a local foster home. The police inquired about the boy at the foster home and found blankets similar to the one he had been wrapped in, hanging on the clothesline, as well as a basement that was sold in the same box that the boy had been found in. The employee theorized that the boy had been born to the daughter of the man who ran the foster home and that his death had been accidental. Despite the employee's insistence of these facts, no connection was ever made between the boy in the box and the foster home. Another popular theory about the boy in the box is someone had raised him as a girl, which is why investigators had difficulty pinpointing his identity. One of the biggest proponents of this theory is Frank Bender, a forensic artist and co-founder of the Vidocq Society, a private group of skilled professionals who are dedicated to solving crimes. According to Bender, the reason someone cut the child's hair around the time of his death was to hide the fact he had been raised as a girl. Bender also said pictures taken of the boy in the box showed evidence someone had plucked the child's eyebrows before or after his death. This indicated that someone had altered the boy's appearance to make him appear more feminine. Bender drew a sketch of what he thought the boy in the box would have looked like with long hair and bangs in an effort to help identify the child if someone had tried to misrepresent his gender. Theory number 3. In 1961, Philadelphia investigators questioned Kenneth Dudley and his wife Irene Dudley to determine if the boy in the box had been one of the middle-aged couple's 10 children. Mr. Dudley was an itinerant carnival worker, so the entire family traveled up and down the East Coast as he looked for work. However, the Dudleys came to the attention of law enforcement when one of their children, 7-year-old Carol Ann, died as a result of neglect, malnutrition, and exposure. Instead of burying their young child's body in a cemetery, the couple wrapped their daughter in a blanket and placed her body in a wooded area in Virginia. Authorities learned 7 of the Dudleys' 10 known children had died as a result of malnutrition and neglect, and none received proper burials, causing Philadelphia investigators to suspect the boy in the box as one of their sons. However, after questioning the Dudleys and investigating their movements in 1957, law enforcement officials in Philadelphia determined the couple, while negligent parents, were not connected to the boy in the box. Theory number 4. Years after police found the child's body, fingerprint expert Bill Kelly theorized the boy in the box may have been one of the many Hungarian refugees who came to America in the 1950s. Kelly developed this theory after he saw a newspaper article published in 1956, the year before the discovery, about people who had recently relocated to the United States from Hungary. A picture of Hungarian refugees accompanied the article, and one of the immigrants in the photo looked remarkably similar to the boy in the box. Kelly followed up on this theory on the basis police were unable to identify the boy, and there were no records of his existence due to his status as a recent immigrant. However, after going through more than 11,000 passport photos, Kelly tracked down the Hungarian boy from the 1956 article and learned the child was alive and well and living with his family in North Carolina. Theory number 5. On October 31st, 1955, less than 2 years before the Philadelphia police discovered the boy in the box, an unknown perpetrator abducted a 2-year-old boy. Someone took Stephen Craig Damon, who had blonde hair and blue eyes, from a grocery storefront in East Meadow, New York. When authorities found the boy in the box, people questioned whether he was actually Damon because of their similar ages and physical characteristics. Investigators followed up this lead, only to learn Damon had broken his arm prior to his disappearance, while the boy in the box didn't appear to have suffered the same fracture. In addition, their footprints didn't match, leading examiners to conclude the boy in the box probably wasn't Damon. In 2003, law enforcement compared DNA taken from the boy in the box with biological evidence collected from Damon's sister, and they determined there was no link between the 2 children. When no one came forward to claim the boy in the box, the Philadelphia detectives who handled the child's case paid for the boy's funeral. They initially buried the boy in a potter's field near Mechanicsville with a stone marker, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." The simple headstone also included the boy's date of discovery, February 25, 1957. After officials exhumed his body in 1998, they reburied him in Philadelphia's Ivy Hill Cemetery with a new granite headstone, "America's Unknown Child." A bench which the Vidocq Society donated, as well as the child's original marker, are also at the boy's gravesite.